Rusty at this.
Why did I do a time
Okay.
space instead of forward?
Okay, let's kind of walk through our test. What we're going to talk about today, as you can see, I want to talk about test score, so you can see it. I want to talk about the intro notes to the section Unit 4 that we're in, which is actually Chapter 4. That just happened to be a coincidence because I do bounce around the book a lot. And we're just going to lightly introduce the stuff we talked about Monday and Tuesday last week to refresh your memory, and then that'll be it today. We're not going to get an assignment or anything like that today. We'll probably look at an assignment tomorrow. I'm going to still continue to use Google Classroom to submit all work. I just like it because you know if you turned it in or if you haven't, it sends daily reminders like, hey, this is due. Better submit it to me. It's just a very clean, organized way to submit stuff. You can keep stuff in your notes. The only issue I have with it is I don't like that you can't physically see what you got wrong, right? You submitted it and I grade it. I go through with my little answer key and I mark what ones you had wrong. Can
you change the color of what we got wrong?
No, see, that's the problem. I can't do any like markups. I can put stuff in the side and like comments, but that doesn't help you if you just if I just say you missed question number 1 and 2, and it's kind of a pain. I wish I could on my iPad like circle things like you did this wrong, this wrong,
Or should we start doing it like on docs so you can change the color of what we got wrong?
No, because I can't edit the doc. It just comes through as a picture, unless you share the doc with me, which I don't want. So.
That's kind of weird. Some of the teachers can edit our docs from like Google Classroom.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so we're going to continue to use it. I think it's easy, especially if we have to go online at some point, in the distant future. So I don't think they're going to kind of stick with what we have now. I'm thinking so. All right. Okay. Let's kind of walk through our test here. All right. So as you can see, I want these back, so don't crumble them up. Don't put them away. If you're online, you can see it on your Google Classroom. You can open it back up, or if you have the physical notes still with you, because some people have it in their notebook still. It's out of 34. The first one was based on the map. So it was a real map. Here it is. This is the thing you had. If you had it on your screen, or you had it physically in person, the answers were insanely close. I was looking for something within the ballpark of what you had, and I'll explain as we go. But when you measured Illinois to Miami on the real map, it was like 9.5 centimeters. If you were on a Chromebook, it was really close to that. I think it ended up being like 7 or some weird number like that. And so when you do the math, this number actually ends up being insanely close. I think if you're on a Chromebook and you're doing it via Zoom, it was close enough. So that's kind of what I gave you. But I need to see the work. So you set your little ratio up. Here's my ratio. You cross, multiply, and divide, and you get your X, and that's what I was looking to see. Did you cross, multiply? Did you divide? Did you get your number? How do you know? Did you show the work? Did you know what you're doing? If you had a physical map and you got it wrong, I looked back at how close were you? Were you in the ballpark? Was it really bad? I gave a little leeway for the people that took it online because it's hard. You had to measure it on the screen itself, but you had to show me what you knew what you're doing. Okay, let's go to the next one. Ooh, don't want to do that. All right, so next one here. All right, Nashville, 450.2 miles. So this is the thing you had to set up. You had to cross, multiply, and divide to figure out your X's. I had to go, on mine, 2.75 centimeters. So if you want to see what that looks like on my... Here, I'll show you what that looks like on my map. There it is. There you go. Yeah. So that's 2.5 centimeters. Now, if you're on a Chromebook, it might have went a little bit further, so I gave a little bit of leeway. You would have hit possibly Detroit and Richmond and Tallahassee and Kansas City, kind of. If you're on a Chromebook, if you had a physical copy, this is what your circle had to look like. And that was with a compass. So I want to be as exact as possible. So I kind of show you the cities I was looking for. Now for the next one. Okay, for the next one, you had to figure out the difference. Well, the difference between north was negligible for Reno and Mason City. So what we're looking for is east and west. So we subtract those numbers. The difference in degree is 16. You take it times your radius of your Earth, which is 3,996. You take it times pi, divided by 180. Thank you. When you physically do that, the radius times your angle times pi divided by 180, this is the number I was looking for. No matter what you were on, that's the number I was looking for. Didn't matter if you're on a Chromebook or not, you should have had that number. And if you're off, you got it wrong. Pretty easy. And that last page was out of 12. So the first question was worth 4, second one's worth 5, the third one was worth 3. Okay, all right, for the next one. Okay, Opala to Bell. I was going Opala up to Bell. That should show up really well, actually. So Opala to Bell. Opala you left at 10:40 in the morning. You arrived at 3:45 in the afternoon. I have to change it to military time. You have to be in military time. You can't take 10 minus 3 and get 6. Don't do that, right? You have to actually change it to military time, which is 15. You have to add 12 in the afternoon times. I've kind of warned you of that. So you get 15:45. You subtract the earlier time in the day, and you get 5 hours and 5 minutes. If you actually count with your fingers, you would have figured out it was 5 hours, right? It would have been 10 to 11:40 to 12:40 to 1:40 to 2:40 to 3:40, and then you had an extra 5 minutes, so 5 minutes extra. So there you go. All right, the next one. This is one that I noticed a lot of people got wrong. I think it was just listening to instructions really killed people. That's me. Mr. Warrior. I do. Sure. Yeah, fine. Addison, you're called to Mrs. Bradley's room. Or the office. I don't know. Whichever one has people in it. So there you go. Okay. Anyway, you're going Largo, one way, peak hours, one way. So you're just buying one ticket. So that's a $21.75 ticket. That's an expensive ticket. You have 3 adults. So these are my adults here, as you can tell, my adults. You have 1 child, so they're half price, and 1 infant, which is also half price. And that's what some people got wrong. If you read the story here, the infant has their own seat, and they are charged half fare. Infants under 2 that have their own seat. So you had to read that. I kind of warned you of that. So it was $87. A lot of people had $67 because they didn't realize you had to add the infant in as well. All right. Number 6. Okay, number 6. Ooh. All right, this is the Uberx, Uber Black. On an Uber Black, you're charged per person in the vehicle. So 3 people in the vehicle, 3 times 5 is $15. This is the occupancy fee. That's the $5 per person in the vehicle. This is your booking fee. This is the time that you're in the vehicle. It's 8 minutes at 45 cents a minute. And this is the big bill. It's the cost per mile. $4.10 per mile. You went 7 miles, so 4 times 7 is about 28. Makes sense. You're in that 28, 29 range. You add them all up, it's $55.81. I think the most common mistake people made was forgetting the occupancy fee. You know, how many people are in the vehicle. Okay, all right, next one. Same exact idea. Same exact idea, but on Uberx, no occupancy fee. You have 4 people in the car, it doesn't matter. You can have as many people as you want as long as there's seatbelts in the vehicle. You've got a booking fee. You have the cost per minute and the cost per mile. The cost per mile on an Uber is always the most expensive part. So 12 minutes times 20 cents is cheap. It's $2.40. But the 14 miles at $1 a mile, you're at about $14, $15 range. You add them up, you're spending about $23 on the Uber. Not bad for 4 people. You know, it's about, what, $5 a person? Not too bad. Okay, all right. The last question here in your test was the hotel room. You're staying for 5 nights. The 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and you're checking out on the 15th. So you don't have to stay the 6th night. You're checking out on the 15th. 5 days. You have 4 people, so you have to have 2 doubles. 2 doubles. Doubles cost $67.50. 2 doubles, so it's $135, and you're staying for 5 nights. This is the number that most people forgot. Thank you, Emma. A lot of people forgot that, yeah, you're staying for, you're staying at $135 a night. Most people forgot you're staying for 4 nights, or 5 nights. 5 nights. That's a lot. 5 times 135. That's $675 for the hotel. And then obviously if you find the price per person, it's cheaper, but that's what a lot of people forgot to do that. I just wanted the cost, how many room, what was the cost, what was the total. You did not have to find it per person. Questions? Okay, I'm going to walk around, I'm going to collect my tests. If you'd like to take a retake, it has to be done this week. Anyone can retake it. I don't care if you missed 1 point, if you missed a bunch. Everyone has a right to retake it. So just keep that in mind. So you just have to come in, before or after school, spend a minimum of 5 minutes with me, just kind of reviewing your test. And then the idea is that once you have your review done, then you can retake it. It has to be done before Friday afternoon. The reason being, Friday afternoon I leave early for a basketball game. We have a basketball game this Friday. It's at Forest City. We leave at 3 o'clock. I can't do retakes after afternoon on Friday, so it has to be done before then. Make sense? If you choose to retake it. Okay? Questions?
No.
Okay, let's do a few notes here.
Oh, I thought we wanted to.
Oh, we have a few notes. So have out your notes. We'll take a few notes here and then we'll call it a day. So this goes pretty quick.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I didn't bring one today.
So.
Get it? See, I should be the routine now.
All right, so let's get rid of that.
I'd be a lot better than Kevin.
All right, so let's talk about our notes here today. I want to talk about banker's rule and renter's rule. That's it. We'll be done here in the next 5 minutes. I just want to intro what we talked about last Monday and Tuesday if you were not paying attention. We've been talking about in this unit 4, chapter 4, we're talking about how to buy a home. We talked about, what your salaries are. We talked about traveling and buying cars, but what if you're going to buy a home for the first time or rent? That's what I want to talk about. So let's talk about the renter's rule. Okay, so renter's rule. The renter's rule is that you should only use 1 week's pay for rent. 1 week's pay for rent. So if you're paid, 52 weeks a year, that's every week, right? There's 52 weeks in a full year. You take 1 week's pay per month, and that's what you should be paying for rent.
That's a lot.
So just depends on how much you make. And again, this is a rule of thumb. You should not spend more than 1 week's pay. So the big thing about this is you need to know how to calculate that. So if I give you your month's pay, right? Let's say I give you, your June pay. You have to divide by 4. If there's 4 weeks in June, you have to divide by 4 and know how much you should be paying for rent. If that number seems a little high, find a place to rent that's cheaper, because this is just like what you should maximum pay out. You should never go more than that. The reason why they have this rule that it's 1 week's pay is so that you still have money for groceries, you still have money for utilities, for car, for insurances, for any emergency fund. You shouldn't be maxing them out, and I shouldn't be going out and buying a home and spending all my money on the house. Right? I still have to pay for the insurance for the home, all my food, gas, you name it. I still have to pay the little things that people don't think about. So that's something that you need to kind of worry about. So if I give you your yearly salary, let's say you make, let's go like minimum wage. So let's say you're making $15 per hour. And I know that seems high. That's I just saw that at Target last night. That's what they're hiring at, $15 per hour now. Most states, I think, are moving towards that now. That's really nice.
They're hiring at Menards and Big Pond for $18.
Ooh, that's nice. Ooh. Okay, so $15 per hour, 40-hour work week, 50 weeks a year. So, in fact, I don't even need to do the 50. This is just 40-hour work week. So $15 per hour times 40, that's a full work week. I'm getting $600. I should not spend more than $600 rent for 1 week. My total yearly salary, by the way, for that, for $15 per hour times 40 times 50 weeks a year. It's always about 50 weeks. I know there's 52 weeks in a year. They always have about 2 weeks of worth of vacation times, usually for most businesses. This is what your yearly salary is if you're at $15 per hour. So 15 times 40 times 50, it's about 30 grand a year. If you're at $18 at Menards and Fleet Farm or whatever you're at, times 40 times 50, that's about 36,000. It's not too bad. Pretty good. That's pretty good money. That's better than most teachers are getting. So new teachers anyway. Okay. Questions on what 1 week salary would be. Now this is something that we're going to look at more tomorrow. I'll probably bring up the charts for how do you calculate 1 week's pay, all that good stuff. So we'll look at that tomorrow, because if you get paid bi-weekly or monthly or whatever it is, you got to know what to do. You should always calculate what you make per year and then divide by 52. So what you make per week. So 36,000. If you're working at Menards and you divide by 52 weeks, it's about $692 a month for rent. That's 1 week's salary at Menards. Now that is gross pay, not net pay. I would prefer that you calculate net pay after taxes are taken out and all that good stuff, so you're not like overspending. Always consider taxes and stuff. So you're not going to make $36,000 cash. You're going to make 66% of that in cash back. So what is that? $36,000 times about 66%. You're making about $23,000 a year cash in hand. So keep that in mind. All right, last problem of the day, I swear. Last problem, this is my last bit of notes, I promised you. We got to talk about the banker's rule. So now, instead of renting, the banker's rule is how much a bank will be willing to loan you for your mortgage. A mortgage is the loan that you take out on a home. They have a specific name for it. It's not just a small business loan or a simple interest loan. They're talking about a mortgage, which is a compound interest loan. It's a more special type of loan. It's similar to a credit card. It's similar to student loans. They're very similar in formula. That's something we're going to talk about in this unit. Actually, I think third section we get there. That's in about a week. A little bit less. It'll be probably this Friday or so. We'll start talking about that. The banker's rule is whatever your yearly salary is. So you take your annual salary. So what you make per year, your wages, you take it times 2.5. This is the banker's rule. It's that. It's this weird number that they've made up. That is the maximum that they'll allow you to take out for a mortgage for a home. So let's say you're working at Menards at, or Fleet Farm at $18 per hour. Okay. So I'm going to calculate what my annual salary is. So 18 times 40 weeks times 40 hours a week times 50 weeks a year. You're making that $36,000 a year. It's pretty good. What a banker would do if you're going to go buy a home for the first time over in Mason, they're going to take that number and they're going to take it times 2.5. And this is the maximum amount that they'll loan you. So 36,000 times 2.5. So they will give you a loan for $90,000, no questions asked, for a mortgage. As long as you have the pay stubs to prove it, and that you're usually, like, if you're working at like a retail store like that, they'll probably have to have some line of credit for you beforehand. They probably won't. This won't be a first-time person. This would be somebody that's established that you've taken a loan from that bank before. Especially in like a retail store. If it's more of a, I don't want to disrespect the Menards job because they get paid more than teachers do. If it was a career, maybe not just a high school job or something like that, they wouldn't question it. But if it's a retail store that they could easily replace you, the bank would be probably hard set to give you that type of loan. But you could get a loan for a $90,000 home. The mortgage on something like that per month, $400 or $500 a month, something like that. so it's cheaper than rent. So, something around here anyway, on a $90,000 home. The only reason I know that is pretty close to what we had when I lived here in Garner. It was pretty close to the loan I had. So, okay. Questions on the banker's rule? That's it for today. That's all I got. Put stuff on the camera.